I'm going to start that. I'm supposed to, I have someone coming on their way from the Aquatic Center, so. Oh, yes, let's do that. That's fine.
Can I get a motion for approval of minutes?
I move that we approve minutes from February.
Second? And vote.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Oh, if it continues too much.
She's on Palizada. I will start, and then I'll hand it off to her. I do have the presentation. So, good evening, commissioners. I'm Samantha Wiley. I'm the Beaches Parks. Oh.
Yeah.
Miley, roll call.
Commissioner Manberg,
Here.
Commissioner Bainmont, Commissioner Firestone,
Here.
Commissioner Hennessy,
Here.
Commissioner Washington,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Campbell-Piana,
Here.
and Chair Russo.
Here. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. It's been a few months. Okay, so I'm going to jump in, and then I do have Carrie Brill. She's our aquatic supervisor who's going to be here within a matter of moments, and she'll jump in. I thought that this was an important topic that come before the commission. It's really an information item as a presentation, so the commission and the members of our public can be aware of what sports leagues we have through the city, and what we're doing from a strategic standpoint as we move forward to hopefully expand our programming. We'll go forward. So this is kind of some of our objectives of our sports leagues that we do. We run sports leagues in-house, as well as we've got leagues that are managed through partnerships as well. We hope to create healthy environments always with all of our leagues that we do, whether that's an in-house partnership or an in-house run city league at various city facilities. There it is. These are to highlight some of our active city recreation leagues that we currently have. Our youth flag football league operates in the fall and the spring. It is a wildly popular league. We started it, I want to say, in about 2015. It came on board. It was a rebrand of the long-time running flag football league that the city ran on Saturdays. This is called Friday Night Football, and it runs at Vista Hermosa Sports Park on Friday evenings in the fall. As you can see, we get almost 400 participants in the fall, and we have between 200 and 300 in the spring. It is a really popular league. It is all recreation-based play, and we serve 18 to 14-year-olds in that league. We've really seen a huge increase in the number of our players in our A division, which is that older group. We've previously kind of suffered to capture them. That's a middle school age, but they have come out in force in the last couple of years, which has been fantastic. And the pandemic did not slow the league down. We had great participation and great turnout as well. From the adult side, we've got adult softball. We have a men's softball and a co-ed softball league. Those leagues are run at Steed Park, and they run for 3 seasons, as you can see, fall, winter, and summer. In total, we had 89 teams last year. This has been a league that's been long-standing at Steed Park. A lot of folks probably know about it. They maybe played in it at one point or time. And it's had definitely an ebb and flow cycle of popularity. One of the goals for the recreation division is to capture a greater interest in softball. It's again meant to be a rec league that you can come out on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night and enjoy being at the baseball field with your friends and family and playing some softball as well. At its peak, that league saw anywhere from 50 to 60 teams per season. So we had a remarkable number of teams, including a women's league that has kind of gone by the wayside. We also have an adult soccer league that runs on Sundays, and that is located at Vista Hermosa as well. A much smaller league in size, but we have committed, tried and true individuals who appreciate and value that league, and we continue to offer it every season. So this is some of the potential that we see down the line as we continue to build out our infrastructure in the city. Certainly, with the potential of Steed Park on the horizon, we would look to see what we can do for pickleball at a pickleball facility. That is not in the works right now. We know we don't have the facility or the infrastructure currently to run a league of any substantial size. Beach volleyball is wildly popular. It is a beloved San Clemente sport, and with the dwindling beach courts that we're able to offer, we'd like to see some opportunity for some level of sand volleyball in replacement if we can't get a beach volleyball league. I do know that there's a diehard group of local residents that play regularly at Lost Winds courts, and so we'd like to start servicing that area of town and trying to provide more leagues that help them. Cornhole is another one that's come up in popularity, more of again, bring people out to the park. That can be done at any park site. It's more of a drop-in, get people to come out of their homes and into their neighborhood parks. Another one that we've talked about is adult flag football. There is a large national league that has tried to come to San Clemente a number of times and it hasn't worked out, but it's something the city's looked at to take in-house as well. Adult ultimate frisbee and kickball as well. Kickball, very similar to softball, is fun for adults to play. It kind of takes you back to recess. And I know Dana Point runs a very popular one, and we've gotten a lot of comments that they would love to have one in San Clemente. Again, recreation based, nothing competitive, but just to bring people together. This is kind of our SWOT analysis of where we think we're at with adult leagues, and I'm going to go through this quickly. I won't touch on very much at all. My goal for this presentation is to get feedback from the commission if we're hitting the mark or if you guys have alternate feedback at this point. We know from a strength-wise we have fantastic fields, we have an incredible user engagement, and we have really good communication and advertising opportunities. We're seeing that just within our own youth programming. We have numbers that have far exceeded anything in our history and our records in terms of attendance. We know that there's room to grow. From an opportunity standpoint, we know that we can expand our facilities. That includes Steed Park build out. And then we think we have a better opportunity to build our community a little bit stronger by bringing in some of these leagues and reestablishing and diversifying some of our existing sports leagues. Some of our weaknesses, we are absolutely lacking field space. I know that is sometimes met with mixed reviews. It is true. At our peak time, we don't have fields available. We cannot service even the volume that some of our partners would like to have. So that's always been an issue, and COVID brought that on a lot stronger. We have a lot more visiting teams from other cities that are continuing to look for field rentals. We have a staffing shortage. We continue to see that from a full-time perspective and a part-time perspective. The pricing structure, it's a little bit in flux given the given economy. And some of the feedback we've received is adult leagues could be more popular if the city would consider serving alcohol. That would be something at like Steed Park or a baseball facility. And that's when we compare other leagues, some of the most popular and successful leagues typically are in a baseball park that's fenced in, and there's a whole entertainment lineup that goes along with that league. And we also, unfortunately, do not have an indoor gymnasium. You could significantly expand your opportunity with an indoor gym to include indoor volleyball, indoor soccer, men's basketball leagues, pickleball, any of volleyball, all of those things could go on indoors. Threats, certainly we're kind of getting in and out of COVID. We're seeing kind of the ebb and flow of that as we continue to move through the pandemic and into the summer. We have established leagues that in our area that we compete with. Right now, we know a lot of folks travel up to even Irvine. So it would be establishing ourselves and keeping them in San Clemente. We need to understand the age of our San Clemente resident base. Our master plan in 2018 said that we have a lot of folks who are 55 and older. That's really the breadth of our population. So if that's who we are looking to serve right now, what does that look like on a sustainability standpoint 20 years from now? And then of course our location, while San Clemente is beautiful and we love it, it's landlocked and people don't always like to come down here. So it can be hard to capture folks that are maybe north or south of us. So therefore we really are San Clemente focused. And when you look at leagues, it's typical to see people come from all over the place to participate in recreation leagues. Youth leagues, again, I'll go very quickly through this. Same thing, communication and advertising, we do that very well. Our opportunities, skill development for young coaches and young athletes, we see a better benefit or need for looping in some of our young high school athletes to see if they can help mentor some of our younger athletes. Weaknesses, again, lack of field space, we have a staffing shortage. We continue, like staffing shortage, we have a lack of volunteers as well. And then sometimes some of the private leagues can be very cost prohibitive for some of our community members. And we also see that there's limited opportunities for girls, or it's not heavily advertised. The threats kind of mirror all of that as well. Part of our rollout, as we look to rebrand sports leagues, we'd like to look at sponsorship opportunities. This is something that a lot of popular leagues will do. They'll work with corporate sponsors to come in and sponsor. It could be the Chick-fil-A kickball league at Bonita Canyon Park or wherever that may be. That helps kickstart the league, but it also draws a little bit of attention because it's a brand and it's a big name that's attached to it. These are just some obviously very popular businesses that stuck out that are coming to San Clemente or in San Clemente. It increases the credibility and improves our public image as well as we work with local businesses to drive that partnership. This is about relationship building, some things that we can do better. Surveys, communication to some of our local businesses for participation. For many years, there's been some local bars that have always sponsored a softball team, and that's always fun to see. We'd like to see more of that and expansion of that. We know that we need to establish a joint use agreement with CUSD. That's a vital priority for us. They use our space, and we in return need to use their space, but that's been challenged over the years with different obstacles that come up. So we know that's a priority, and then we know we need to be more visible at community events, as that brings in 5,000 to 10,000 people at one event as well. So this is again an overview of adult leagues and youth leagues, and kind of the importance. I'm going to skip through it because we're getting farther along in the meeting. From our marketing plan, once we move forward with a strategic plan of leagues and such, we would be heavily pushing social media marketing, and we have a staff member on board within Bpr that would be managing that. We would be doing some regular promotional videos and working the social media to capture as many audience members as we can. And that is the end of it. We're looking to launch some of this as early as January of next year. We hope to do it this summer, but we've continued to have a little bit of fluctuation in staffing, so our priorities are constantly shifting. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. I know that was a ton of information, but I'd love to hear feedback. Yes, Pat?
There's no football for under 14.
Correct.
And why is that?
It's just not something that we've established. Like I said, we've had an interest for an adult league, which is 18 and over. That football, well, I should say your question's probably about high school students. Is that where you're thinking,
Well,
14,
no,
18?
When I was a kid.
Pop
a long
Warner,
time.
right? Pop
Yeah,
Warner.
I played Little League football, so from 8 to 14, it was
Sure.
leagues, and then the high school took over. And then after you were 15, there were no more leagues, because you either played high school or you didn't play anymore. So
You're
this
talking
is-
tackle football, not flag.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean,
so
football-
Pop Warner was here for a little bit. We also have the Matt Leinart League. Those are all private leagues that will do rentals of the fields. We have a sports partner, South Coast Youth Football is our partner, and they have a pretty good following. We found that San Clemente loves flag football for the younger kids, and that's been the real attractive piece at this point. And we do have the partner that offers tackle as well.
Yeah, it just it seems like how are the young ones gonna get exposed, even if it's just flag?
Sure.
Yeah, how the game works and what kind of are and all that. It seems like,
No, but Friday Night Lights is
Yeah,
the younger kids.
Friday Night Lights is that league.
7
but
years
it's
old.
14 to 18.
No, it's 6 to 14.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, they do have flag.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't mention.
Yeah, that's 2 seasons.
Okay.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
you had
Yes.
something on the first slide about room for, or location for growth, or, I'm sorry, was that physical location you're looking at, or depth of what you want to offer, or?
No, I think when we talk about locations, we know that we have Steed that's undeveloped, and with the master plan upon us, that's going to provide pickleball, that will provide another soccer field or a multi-purpose field. So that kind of helps to alleviate the limited field spaces that we have and could potentially allow us to add more programming. There's been a hesitancy to add programming right now because we are so impacted on our fields.
Question, the social media and marketing,
Mhm.
is that the only, or we can also use the paper as well?
Yeah,
Social
we
media is like,
Sure. We will always do a press release when we do a new league or any type of new programming. We also have email. We have about 25,000 people in our email database for recreation, and that's a big one. We have a really good open rate on that. That reaches everybody who's registered in San Clemente and beyond. And then depending on if where our attendance is, we will take out ads in the paper as well. We've done that. Yes.
I was just gonna mention, just in support of everything that you mentioned, so all my children have played the Friday Night League, they absolutely loved it. I remember when it first came on, and we were so excited, and it's fantastic. So I'm really supportive of that program. My husband and I have both done the softball and soccer program, adult leagues, and those were a lot of fun. So definitely recommend those keep on going, and as far as potential, I think you guys are spot on for what's maybe needed in the future. I see so many people loving. There's a lot of ex-pro football players, at least in my community, that I know would love adult flag football.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Would this be an appropriate time to ask about the staffing issues that you were mentioning later on?
Yeah, I will touch on that during our budget presentation component.
Questions?
Okay.
Alright. So we're gonna move on to the section 3O communications. First person up is Susan Ambrose in regards to the local coastal groundwater.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you all here. Can you hear me okay?
yes.
Okay, great. I am coming here with good news that you may not be aware of. And this occurred at the City Council meeting on May 25th of this year. And it is related to the submission of our coastal resiliency plan that you all received towards the end of last year at your very first meeting from our Community Development Director, Cecilia Gallardo Daly. So she talked to you about the importance of the coastal resiliency plan and the plans that San Clemente had to implement and the kinds of action steps that we were going to do as a city. As part of that, Cecilia and her group were already also interested in applying for grant money. And she did so, and she was awarded a grant. I should say the city was awarded a grant. I see the mayor is here. Or is he still here? Yeah, there he is. Okay. So I'm going to be sure that I correct that myself here. At any rate, the California Coastal Commission said yes, but we'd like to add one more task to it. And so much to my just happiness, and I'm sure Commissioner Capopiano's as well, since we worked on this at Coastal Advisory Committee. What the Coastal Advisory, the California Coastal Commission wanted was to add one more task, and that was to prepare a focused local coastal program amendment to incorporate the finding and recommendations of shoreline monitoring and a feasibility analysis to go with that. So that was music to my ears, and should be to yours, because so the City Council had talked about this, and when then the city council actually on February 15th authorized the staff to amend the current proposal for the grant application to include the additional task and submit it to the California Coastal Commission. And the task one that you should know about, and this is the 7th grant that the city has gotten from the California Coastal Commission. That's how hard your team here is working in community development and any other resources that can be put to work by them. I'm sure to offer coastal information, lead planning, coastal advisory, environmental services, etc. So task one was the reestablishment of the city's shoreline monitoring program, period. The general objective of the city's shoreline program is to build a sustainable database. So of nearshore beach changes in San Clemente. Therefore, providing a basis for evaluation of the impact of not only natural events like El Nino or sea level rise effects, but also human intervention like beach nourishment or sand pushing. So to the extent possible, this will be done in 2 stages, one in the fall, and one starting in the fall and October, and the other one in May and spring. And the data that we use to develop a comprehensive understanding report of seasonal, annual, long-term coastal changes in the region. We know this, we must know this in order to build upon better strategies and bigger strategies to fulfill the needs that the city of San Clemente has. And the positive side here. Oh, you did. Can you give you the last good news? The city, the California Coastal Commission awarded $570,000 for the grant. So that was a big increase in the grant to add that extra step. So that's very good news for the city.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. I'm sorry I didn't hear your buzzer.
That's all right. I heard it go off. It was me. All right, next up is, in regards to JG registration, Laura Fisher.
I have a presentation, and here's the copy, if you want to listen.
Awesome.
My name is Laura Fisher. I'm a resident here in town, and I wanted to talk about JG registration, specifically for the group of students that are advanced, that have passed the requirements for lieutenant or captain or cadet. And this is the group of students in JGs who are the assistants to the actual lifeguards for each of the small groups of JGs, the younger children. And then they also learn more advanced beach lifeguarding skills. So this is the group of kids that work their way through the program and are on the way to be beach lifeguards.
And so 12, 13.
Yeah, so this is my daughter. She's starting in 8th grade. She passed the test for lieutenant last year and served as a lieutenant, and then at the end of the year got the most inspirational. And she is, one day wants to be a beach lifeguard. And so we go to register her this year. The registration's at 8 a.m. And I'm sitting by the computer because I know it's tough to get in. Everything's in the basket. I push register at 8 a.m. The wheels, spins. And then it kicks me out. I go right back in. I press register. I'm 44 on the wait list. Out of the session that she can do, which they all have 140. And so at this point, she's trying to do session 2, and she's now 4 on the wait list. But we have our calendar cleared out, just waiting, to see, is she going to get in? Is she not? Because she doesn't want to do the other program. She wants to do the city program. Because she has already done state, but she wants to pursue city. Okay, so next slide. So I've done some research on the other JG programs around here. So San Clemente State and Doheny State GGs have the Youth Aid program. And they have a tryout this year at the end of May, at which time on their application you can select what session dates you want to work. Because these kids are working as assistants to the younger children there. And then for the OC JGs, they try out and attend like an advanced group they call WORCA during this summer. And then from that group, they select OC JG assistants. And then those assistants for the next year are able to work with the office staff and register for the sessions in which they want to work. And then we have San Clemente, which is the registration date opens at 8 a.m. and it's basically a free free-for-all, there's no like preferential registration. So, I know I only have 3 minutes, so the next slide, I just wrote some general registration issues, and I can let you read those. And the next slide is some possible solutions to some of those issues, and basically they're like a phased registration. So, like state allows returners to register first at an earlier date, and so a lot of it is phased registration. And then the next slide is, I'm just wondering, can change be made for the rest of the summer? I'm not the only person this is happening to. There's a lot of kids who have earned this advanced rank that just remain on the waiting lists for the remaining sessions. And, you know, I'm asking the city, would you look at those, see which have the advanced rank? Could they get in a group? Because they're actually working for the city, even though we're still paying you to JGs. Other cities, I think it's OC JGs that don't make you pay. You know, the registration is free because your child is working. So I don't know if that was the buzzer. It was hard to hear. But I want to be respectful of your time, but just bring this to the attention of your group because JGs is so popular and the program, you know, hopefully can expand, but without these kids that are willing to want to pursue this program and grow it more, it's going to be hard to maintain any growth on that. And it's just been tough for them.
So basically what you're asking for is people that are already in get preferential the next year.
Yeah, who've been in the JGs in the past.
Yes. I mean, that's how it is at junior college. You register for classes.
Yeah, if you're a senior, you register first.
Yeah.
Junior, you register second. I mean, that's how it's when I was at college. Well, if you're in athletics, you register first. But, okay, thank you. I mean, if there's any way to look into that, I think, you know, for this summer or the next summer, it's really needed.
I assume one of our constraints is that we only need a certain number of people in this age group at that level. I mean, is that a constraint?
So the junior lifeguard program is very unique. It's very different from all of our other summer camps. It is highly competitive. This year, the program filled up within almost 30 seconds of it opening. So it's not unusual to hear the stories that we're hearing. I really strongly believe it's a bit of an anomaly. I know every year it's a lot, and there's a lot of parents at home trying to get in. Oftentimes what happens is the wait list will shake out. People, it's a mad dash. They're all trying to get into the session with their friends, so they put their kid in everything they can, and then as they talk to their parent, their friends, and their family members, they start to pull their kids out of the different sessions. We have another session, the second session, I found out today, somebody is dropping from the second session. So to be number 4 on the wait list is a very good spot to be. They do get very deep. We have 60 to 75 people on the wait list at any given time. So the program cannot take more individuals. I think it would really lose the merit and the value of the program. And this program's been around for a long time, and it's gone through a lot of iterations of how we register. So it's too late to change course right now, but I'm happy I can have our captain reach out to you and talk to you through about the process, and we can circle back prior to next year as well.
So now I have a question. So
Yes.
all those that apply that get in, is there a certain number that actually qualify and push through, or is there a limit?
So anybody who's registered for the session has already passed the swim test.
Okay.
You cannot get in, you don't get the chance to register if you haven't passed the swim test.
How feasible would it be to give priority to advanced learning, the ones that are actual assistants?
So I think that's a really big conversation. So now you're talking about prioritizing individuals over other individuals. Historically, we've gotten requests, why can't San Clemente residents come in first? Why can't non-residents be delayed? Why don't new students get the chance? Because everybody should have the opportunity to register. Why should the priority be given to returning students? In my history, there's arguments on all sides of the table. So the fairest way we found is it's everyone all at once. And that is, the system works at the point in time. I know that sometimes it's disappointing, but again, we're happy to assess it for next year as well. But that's some of the reasoning why.
Yeah, I mean, I've just personally, again, I've had 3 kids, all of them have done city guards. It's always been that way. Just you have to set your alarm, get in, and try to get, in your spot. And a lot of times it didn't work. They would get with their friends, and I mean, it's kind of a nightmare. But it is just because it's a wildly popular program. All the kids love it, and they want to jump off the pier and all those other things. And I don't know if there's an opportunity, like, is there a way to partner more with the state? Because I know the state takes more, so that there could be, I don't know, because they don't jump off the pier, and that's like the reason why that program's not
Correct,
popular.
yeah.
So I don't know if there's a way to let them do that too, so they can have.
It's our career. We can look at it, definitely. The state runs a very different program, and I knowing our Marine Safety Division, they are highly protective of this program because they believe in it. It is something that they have honed their skills on, and they put out a really great product. So we're aware of what the state does. We know what the county does. We know what Newport does. We know what they all do. Our captain is very abreast of the different competing organizations, I guess. So, but we're happy to circle back with the state and see what we can do. But it's always been that way too. So.
Any further questions? All right, next speaker is James.
So it might be difficult for me to keep this to 3 minutes because I'm used to no one gathering, but I'll gather. I just wanted to show up tonight and thank this group for what you've done over the past year. And, just like this lady here just talked about, it gets very, very personal about your children and what your children can get and what your children can't get. And we have limited resources. The other day I was at I was on the pier when those kids were jumping off the pier. And it truly was, going back to the wide world of sports from the 60s and 70s, it truly was the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. Some of those little boys and girls, they just looked down there and looked and said, no, I'm not jumping. And it was just, they were devastated. But then maybe 2 or 3 times, the lifeguards were extremely patient with them and seeing them. And having jumped off that pier, I did it on an election year, and I had a bunch of supporters behind me. And quite honestly, if they hadn't been there, I probably would have gone home. But no, seriously, I'm here to thank you guys for what you've done. I want to recognize your board chair this evening with a mayor's coin. And thank you. And last thing, if I can approach the dais, the last thing I want to recognize, today's Flag Day, and it's the 247th anniversary of the United States Army. So it's difficult being a soldier in a Marine town, but I'm going to recognize the Army tonight. If I can approach, please. Thank you, Carrie.
I am going to give you guys a brief overview of where we've been and where we're going. Since we didn't get a chance to meet earlier in the year, this is a recap of our Sankramani Day Fishing Derby. This is our annual event that we host in honor of Sankramani's founding on Sankramani Day. Estimated attendance 300. We had about 111 participants that were registered, and this is a youth fishing derby. It's a great turnout and just a really cool time to see kids on the pier fishing. No experience is required. We have a ton of fishermen out there that are ready and willing to help our youth learn how to fish, and we have equipment that's provided by the Department of Fish and Wildlife as well. So that's every year on the last Saturday of February. Cones with Tops and Lifeguards was a early spring push to inform the public about our changes in the e-bike policies and municipal code on the beach trail. Our Marine Safety Division partnered with our San Clemente Police Services OCSD folks to put on a really cool event that everybody got a free ice cream cone if you spoke to a deputy or one of our marine safety staff. It was a great turnout and very well attended. Then we had our Springtacular event at Vista Hermosa with about 4,000 people. We sold 635 wristbands. That's actually, we just switched to wristbands, but it's one of our highest numbers to date in wristbands. We've seen a tremendous turnout for our events this year. People are excited to be back in action. Following Springtacular, we have Splashtacular. You'll see Snorkel Bunny makes an appearance. There's an underwater egg hunt as well. 319 attended with 108 registered. Followed by our Cinco de Mayo Fiesta at Maxford Park on May 7th. 5,000 attended, 453 wristbands were sold for all of the games and activities. Live music, it's a really fun cultural event that really brings Maxford Park neighborhood to life and brings everybody out into the park together. We followed that by our bike safety rodeo at the end of May, where we were trying to heavily educate the importance of e-bike safety and bicycle safety with our youth just before summer vacation hits. Really great turnout. This was a hugely collaborative effort with our San Clemente Police Services, who just a stand-up group of people who really care about the youth. So with recreation and OCSD involved, we put together a great program. Free helmets were given out by, I think, Mission Hospital, and OCFA was also on site as well. Followed by our Memorial Day Observance event held here at the Community Center with 350 people. This is an annual event that really is a great opportunity for reflection and remembering our fallen soldiers, and also really praising our country and all the good things that do go on. And we just had our beach concert last week. We kicked off our beach concert series, the return of it, with Stone Soul, about 3,000 in attendance. The beach was packed. And it was really cool to see everybody back on the sand and the bluff filled up. So that was really awesome. And then we've got our upcoming events. Paint San Clemente is a partnered event with the San Clemente Art Association here at this facility. It's going to be this coming weekend. They do a gala. It's a plein air art competition, so you'll see artists all over San Clemente for the rest of June, just kind of painting away different scenes, and it is a competition. There's a quick draw. There's all kinds of things, but my favorite time is in July, because they hang all of the artwork in the gallery, and there's just really incredible San Clemente artwork that's very unique, and it's always done by a local artist. So I do encourage you guys to stop by and check that out. They do a big art show at the end of it this weekend as well. Everything, yeah. Our art gallery has had a terrific sales record over the last 2 years since they've reopened. So we have a Linda Lane concert. This is our country line dancing concert at Linda Lane on July 7th with the Kelly Boys Band. Super fun concert. If you liked country music and you like to line dance, or you just like to people watch, it's a ton of fun. We usually try to get our line dancing instructor out there to get everybody up and moving. Then we have our Ocean Festival event, another city partnered event on the 16th and 17th. That's coming to our beaches. And followed by another beach concert with Wigs and Ties, and then we'll close out our summer concert series with Common Sense on the beach as well. And we do have a movie, it's not listed and I don't know the date, but we are doing a movie in the park. We're going to be playing Encanto as well, which is very popular if you're a Disney fan. Any questions on events? Thoughts? Comments? Okay. That's all I got. Should we do more?
I have a question. Are you doing fireworks for the 4th of July?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
The fireworks show, what? Yes, we are. 9 o'clock. I don't know how that one slipped. That's our regular show, 9 o'clock. It's about a 22-minute show off of the pier. I would look for a press release because we're going to have some alternate traffic patterns in the Pier Bowl that day. So keep an eye out for that.
Is it going to be Saturday?
It will be on July 4th. It's a Monday. Yeah. Yeah.
Good question.
Great questions. Too many events.
Thanks, whoever picked that one up. So moving into old business. Anything on old business to go over?
I have a very brief environmental update.
Oops, I'm sorry.
So I just got a quick update from Dave Riebensdorf, who's our utilities director. Wanted to provide an update regarding Municipal Pier Bacteriological Water Quality Report. They videoed the sewer lines, and analysis of potential human bacteria sources were completed. One private sewer lateral was found in need of report. The owner is working to repair the lateral prior to the final bacteria testing in the storm drain inlets at the base of pier. There have been no bacteria exceedances at the pier since the installation of the bird deterrent netting. Utility staff is now working to secure a new maintenance contract for the netting prior to turning the maintenance responsibilities over to Public Works. I know that there's a lot of concern that the netting has been cut and there's been some birds that have been trapped and there's all kinds of debris. So Utilities is working to clean that up, repair it, and then we'll execute a new contract with another company as well. The other update, priority development project program implementation and best management proactive delineation project. I had to read that. This is a PSA for Geosyntech Consultants. It was approved by the City Council on May 25th. They will be inspecting and verifying records that would then be uploaded to the state's website and prioritize future inspections for approximately 65 sites in the city's inventory. And lastly, Pochi Beach Water Quality Diversion Project. Periodic bacteria exceedances are still occurring at Pochi. The one option the city staff is considering is repurposing urban runoff to the city's water reclamation plant where it would be used for recycled water for irrigation. Unfortunately, the use of the water is not feasible due to the high total dissolved solids or salts. The high salt contact would adversely affect wastewater treatment and the city's ability to produce recycled water. The goal is to produce recycled water below 800 ppm for contrast. So that was a lot of technical things. I'm happy to give my best answer to a question if you have one.
So I'm hearing that that is not possible to use it as recycling.
Correct.
What, is there any other alternatives to use it for, so it doesn't get?
My last conversation with Dave, because that plan didn't work out, they're still kind of turning their brains on what to do with it.
I'm wondering if that, when we talk about future agenda items, if that could possibly
Sure.
be one, just because I know, Pochi Beach has just had continuous problems there. What we've done out there hasn't really been successful. We're still continuing to see exceedances. But I think there was the idea that this would really work to do a diversion to the sewer system, and to hear that it won't work is kind of a little disappointing because I don't know what other options are on the table. So I'd really like to sort of hear what the
Okay.
city's doing.
Sure. Anything else on environmental?
What's that?
Can I ask a question from the audience to Reservations?
I will give you my best answer.
Did Mr. Riebensdorf indicate that the report is going, the water quality report from the county is still coming into his office?
He didn't talk to me about that. You might want to reach out to him directly on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any more questions? All right, anybody want to bring anything up under old business?
I don't know, I don't know if it's gonna come up later, but, I heard parts, which is on ladies' restrooms doors. Is that a true statement? That's not true.
So the men's ones too?
Yes, the men's ones have been vandalized in a couple of our restrooms.
Thank you
So
for the doors.
they might have been taken off, but they'll be put back on. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's all fun. It all last weekend, but I noticed doors that says in the straight part.
Yes.
Everyone's excited.
All right, moving on to item 6, new business.
Okay, so this is an item on a public mural application on public property. So under the commission's purview is the opportunity to review and recommend approval of art on public property. And this particular artwork is specific to the North Beach Concession restroom building. I do have the applicants here this evening. For some background on this, this is a reinterpretation or a modern exhibit of the Character Counts mural that existed for many, many years, almost 17 years on the North Beach wall. The Character Counts mural was established in the year 2000 as an effort to support the nationwide Character Counts program. It became kind of iconic to North Beach. And unfortunately, in 2017, the mural was taken down due to the wall was in complete disrepair and crumbling. So there was no way to salvage the mural without really tearing up the wall. So the wall has been repaired. The building is in good condition. I have had the wonderful opportunity to work with the San Clemente Sunrise Rotary for a number of years to try to pick the pieces back up. The Rotary Club was instrumental in the first mural that was painted, and it was done alongside the San Clemente High School Interact Club, which is the Rotary's high school kind of arm of operations. So I think the mural that's before you this evening and the one in your packet's very different. This is all in concept, but Sally is here with the student artist, Stella, and they are working really hard because they want to get it up and ready before July 1, because they think it's an important summer mural to push forward. So it's coming to you still in kind of rough draft form, but I guess what we're looking for this evening is the commission's approval to move forward with this kind of concept. So really it's about the beach theme. It's the surfer kids. They've got the different colored surfboards that display the characters of the pillar characters, and it's all set to the beach background. So I would be happy to take questions if there are any, but I do have Sally and Stella here as well if they want to speak to the artists, the artwork.
Well, I really like the funky surfer concept. I just wish we had something more complete to look at, like we did last time.
Sure.
Reviews for the survey or the Snapchat on here, because it's really hard to kind of figure out. I mean, is all that going to be of some color, or is some of it going to be the kind of the drawn pencil that we're seeing here?
It'll be colored, but I'll let Sally speak to
Speak
it.
on that and along with Stella too. So this is probably our best foot forward because this is more concept here, bringing it forward here where you see the bright colors. So it's kind of an Abbey Road kind of thing where they're walking on the boardwalk here, and you've got the surf behind and the sun behind them too. So the surfer is out on the sun behind him. So very similar to what was there, but just modernized, if you will. And then, Stella, if you want to talk about your inspiration on your points there.
Okay, so I originally thought that was this concept, which was pretty much just like a way for the surfer, but then we're working with them in the murals who want to take into account this other Abbey Road design. So I am currently working to diffuse both this wave with the surfer design and this Abbey Road concept. And then there was another addition discussed about having like a photo opt-in where an actual person can scan with like a rendered kind of 3D painted version of a surfboard and scan for a photo that will look like your mural. But I just wanted to get the city's feedback before I proceed with a more finalized version of this to see what the most relevant concepts.
Well, and just to add a postscript to this is the iconic muralist Joshua Paskowitz that's iconic with San Clemente and Beach Village. is our mentor on this and working with the art student and us alongside of this. So I know there's a lot of faith in his work in guiding us on this, but unfortunately, because we're coming out of COVID and trying to push through this before the summer months really hit us, this is where we are at this point.
The diagram's gonna be in color though?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
The beach and the water, so.
Yeah.
Very good. Oh, yes, yeah, we just got little paint swatches there now. And that's what these little paint swatches
So
are.
is the artist, you said Josh?
Joshua Caswitz.
Is he gonna be painting the mural, or is it a student mural, or?
Well,
Is it both?
what's happened before is we had 10 students that helped paint it. In fact, Samantha's sister was one of the original artists or painters on there. So because it's a community project, we'll have Joshua be the lead liaison along with Estella on this project, but we're going to set it up with kind of a paint by numbers, so to speak, that other participants from the art class and Interact Club can participate in it, but it's a youth student-driven project.
I know that the 6 character pillars are truthfulness, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, caring, citizenship, and fairness. So are you starting out with the blue little dots, truthfulness, trustworthiness, respect, and then the 4, respect, responsibility, caring, citizenship, and fairness, or which way are you going?
This can be rearranged. I just did this in order of like color palette kind of, but I can rearrange the pillars in the correct order.
And the font will be larger on there too. It won't be so tiny, but we'll be able to blow that up.
Makes a terrific life. Truthfulness, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, caring, citizenship.
100%, and it crosses all cultures, all religions, all socioeconomics. So
And
it's
that's
really-
how I remember them, mnemonics. So
And I think that's synonymous with San Clemente, is the character counts in San Clemente.
beyond, yeah, middle of Valentine's Day.
So I have a question. We didn't get to see the sketch in the upper left. I don't believe that was in the package. Is that kind of where you're moving towards? And how are you going to incorporate, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, but I just want to just get a picture of what you're trying to accomplish in the end.
So this was just, taking a pen and paper and just putting it together, but I think you should probably look on this one, because this is more with the boardwalk, the ocean behind it, the sunset, the surfer on the wave, and then these, useful characters, like little characters coming in on the boardwalk.
Is there gonna be like a mention on our plaque or something that talks about like the San Clemente or
We'll have San Clemente High School icon on there, San Clemente Sunrise Rotary on there as well, and then the artist name written in there too.
and then how about just sort of a fair representation of races and or depicted for
100%.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
So, take a vote?
All in favor?
All in favor?
I just think we should have something more complete for him.
Actually, I'm gonna back on so we want to see an actual, what it's gonna be for us.
Can I make a statement to that, please? Joshua Caswitz is out of the country, and he was the Abbey Road inspiration. He gets back on the 23rd, and so without copyright infringement, I was having Stella combine her work and his, and an artist doesn't want to reproduce somebody else's artwork, so he gets back on the 23rd, but I think he's just really, really good, and I wouldn't have a concern with what he's going to come up with.
How many of us are voting, let's take the vote again? Yeah, because you put it up for vote, let's vote.
But if we don't approve it today, then we would have to go to our next meeting, and then you guys are looking to
We
do.
won't
We've had some people going on vacation too that were part of this.
So if the commission doesn't vote to approve it, staff would likely move it forward to council without commission approval.
There you go.
So it's the commission's, it's your decision on what you want to do.
So should we vote again?
Yes.
Yes.
You need to make a new motion.
All right, so
All right.
Motion's already made, right?
Yeah, the motion was made. I seconded it.
Seconded.
Yeah.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Sally.
I promise you guys that, ladies and gentlemen, that you will be very happy with it.
Okay, this is another, I think, a really fun project that is 2 items up for, I need approval and recommendation on 2 things. The first one is Steed Park. I think the contents of the staff report really cover where we're at. For the public, in case you've not read the staff report, the city has a playground replacement schedule that's followed. And typically a playground's useful life is between 15 to 20 years. And depending on the wear and tear, it can be 10. San Gorgonio Park Playground and Richard Steed Park Playground are both up for replacement. They were actually up in 2020, but because of the pandemic and limited staffing resources, we're just getting a chance to look at it today. Staff have been doing a lot of work with a playground company to come up with some design concepts. So what we're looking for from the commission today is a recommendation for each playground site. There's 3 options under San Gorgonio and there's 2 options under Steed. We did a survey for San Gorgonio. We did not do one for Steed, but the survey for San Gorgonio was really because that is a large community park. It has a lot of visitors. Obviously, it's got a lot of sports activities, picnics. It really runs the gamut of opportunities for recreation there, and we know it's a beloved playground. So we did a survey. The results are included in your packet, but what we really, the highlights of that survey said people want seating, they want shade, they love the nature aspect of that park in general. It's got beautiful ocean views, and where the playground is, they're actually on the highest point. There is an ocean view from the top of the playground. So our playground designer really worked with that to kind of capture the unique nature of San Gorgonio. San Gorgonio, from a kid perspective, is very known for its very twisty slide that's very tall. So we know a tall slide is valued as well. One of the things we are trying to do differently in this playground that was not done in our previous replacements is a more focus on ramp and platform play, which is exactly what it sounds. It's the stairs to climb up and the little drawbridges to run across and platforms, things like that. Our recent playground replacements have been a focus on challenging play, and from staff's perspective and what we hear and know I think people are getting a little bit tired of challenging play because it's really geared for 5 and older, so it's prohibitive for our 5 and under kiddos. So this is a great combination. It has both options have a 5 and under option and a 5 and older option on that playground. The swings remain, and so I'm happy to take any questions on San Gorgonio, and then I have more on Steed when we get there.
Okay, so my question is, if I'm reading right, the survey was 536, of that 245 submitted,
Yes.
and San G is in the zip code of 92673, right? No? 2? Okay, so the majority of the people that submitted was in that same zip. Okay, even though it's a city park. Okay, got it. Thanks.
So you just wanted some discussion?
Yeah, so we're looking for feedback, and hopefully what we'd like to do is actually get a recommendation from the commission for one of these 3 options. There's 3 options for San Gorgonio. The first one is called Nature Giants. It is a giant slide, as you can see. It's up on the screen. It's going to definitely get an ocean view. It does have the ability to climb up ropes to get there, but also the platform and ramp concept as well. If a 3-year-old wants to brave the top of that slide. All of the color patterns can be swapped out if we want to as well. It's all interchangeable, but they leaned into the green and brown concept because of the nature. But right now the park is blue and white, so if commission wanted to go with that, we can look at changing some of the colors. You see that there is still a swing bank There's 2 banks for 4 swings total. There's kind of a teeter-totter feature. And then there's a circle, it's a running circle thing, and kids just run in circles, literally on it.
Supernova.
Yeah, it's at Tierra Grande Park, and the children just love it. They spin until they're dizzy. So that's one concept. I want to say also on the swings, all of it's interchangeable. This might be too much, but for playgrounds talk, what you're used to is a belt swing. That's the traditional swing that you sit on and swing back and forth. We typically have a couple of tot swings. You cannot combine a belt swing and a tot swing in the same bank because of playground safety measures. The other option though, what we're seeing a lot of is they're like parent and child swings. So it's a belt swing and you have an opportunity to put a 5 and under child in front of you and you swing together. Mission Viejo has some of those and they're really popular. A lot of times a child loves to have their parent with them swinging and that achieves that. And then there's the nest swing, there's the ADA swings, there's a lot of different options. So this is Nature Giant Smiley, if you want to go to the next one. This is called the Lookout. It has a totally different look to what we have in San Clemente. This is the Robinia line from Compan. It's all made of sustainably sourced wood and it's very durable. So it has a really cool environmental aspect to it. Again, you see a lot of tall slides. There's a couple different views in your packet as well. But it's got the 5 and under has a little play hut and a little ship. And then you see that there's kind of a giant ropes course that's connecting the two. But there's options as well to get there, to get to the center through a ramp and platform as well. So this is the kind of the combination of the two. On the bottom portion, you'll see there's some little kids kind of sitting in black swings. They call those hammocks. They're little kid hammocks, and they kind of take unused space really of a playground and give play value to it. And this is the final one called the Tree House, and I think it speaks to that. It has a little bit of a Tom Sawyer look to it. Again, lots of swings, a ton of play value. It really achieves that ramp and platform. And then you've got the small little house for the 5 and under tiny tots, and another play feature on the other side as well. All of these playgrounds will include engineered wood fiber as the surfacing. We no longer do pour in place surfacing because of high maintenance costs, and sand is not ADA accessible, so it will be the engineered wood fiber. Questions on that?
Does staff have a recommendation on these three?
I would lean towards the tree house or probably the first one because of the really tall slide, but I think the tree house really gets you everything you're looking for. It has a really cool spider web feature. I mean, I can see children just running havoc underneath it. I think there's a lot of play to be had in that space.
Number 2 has those lines coming down from the masthead, which I don't think it would be safe for kids running back and forth under those.
Yeah, they will, and that's a good point. They're certainly not going to put a playground into play. That's not safe, but it's certainly a consideration. But it's an excellent point as well.
That one has three sides, treehouse, and has 2, right?
There are.
One off the back side.
Yeah.
There's a little, oh yeah. Lookout has 4, and then treehouse has 2.
I think it has 3. There is an option, if you want to get to 3 slides, if that's the magic number for the commission, our designers can certainly look to put another slide in there somewhere. It would be taking away the object that the child's climbing up closest to us with his 2 legs wrapped around, that you can swap that out for another slide. And any of that's interchangeable in the playground design world.
My personal preference, I actually like 2, just because it's being where it is and overlooking the ocean. I really do like the pirate theme and the blue theme. I think it's really cool. And then I do like the wood as opposed to the plastic. Option 1, I don't think that one's as aesthetically
these are all within budget. I would present an option that's out of budget. We are funded, and then we're also using some of the funding that was received through the Prop 68 park bond to kind of shore up the remainder. Again, staff really believe this is a valued playground and is worth the extra effort to get it to the right level.
Here.
Now on the lookout here, do they have to put those cables up to the mast head?
Most likely, yes, but I can check.
Is there a way to just put some padding, put some padding around where there's cables next to the ground? It looks like it's a metal.
I can talk to the playground company, but again, I don't want you to focus on the safety of it necessarily, because I promise you they're not going to give us an unsafe product, that they would not be in business if they were doing unsafe
Choose
products.
one of the options, right?
Yeah, that would be the goal. If you have feedback, you want 3 slides in option 3, okay, I can take that and move forward with it.
See which one you like.
Yeah, I
Two
can
I
comment
see
too.
there.
I think 2 and 3, they had requested more traditional playgrounds, right? For this one?
Yes, and so these are traditional playground styles. It looks different because it's the wood, but the actual type of play is a traditional playground.
I think 2 and 3 are both great, both awesome.
So let's go.
Does anybody have a preference for option 1? Leave that out. I think that the community around San Clemente values kind of the nature aspect, so can we talk about 2 and 3?
Good idea.
Not in favor of it, nothing.
So can I just move that we approve option 3, the treehouse?
I'll second that.
All right.
Do we want to add another slide in instead of
Well,
that?
there's a little one off the little one out there, right?
The main one?
Off to the right.
All over the place.
Yeah, on the
only
top
thing is
there.
like,
And then put another one in there somewhere. I don't
You need a little short slide for a little.
yeah, how high, because it's so hard to see the slide.
I know, it's kind of a tough angle.
Is it a tall slide?
It
or
is.
wide?
It's tall and it wraps down.
So it kind of mimics what's
Yeah.
there now?
What I can do is take that recommendation with the caveat that you'd like staff to look further into the possibility of adding another slide
Maybe
somewhere.
a small one for smaller people.
Well, there's one.
You've
there's
got a
one
small
on
one.
there, one else.
That's a little high.
Oh, yeah, there's one over here.
Oh, there you
All
go.
right, so we
Is
have
there a way to add, because what's this thing that's the very, like, it's by the girl with the wheelchair? What is that?
It's like a jumping thing that they can sit on and rock back and forth on.
So I'm wondering if, could you, though, I guess it's not, it just seems so small. I don't know if you can.
You like the boat,
Yeah, or
little
some-
boat?
Yeah.
Okay, I will see if we can swap that out for something that has something else as well. A lot of the design is going to depend on the fallout zone. That's a really big piece in playground development.
So we actually have had a motion for option 3, we have a second for option 3.
Second.
We'll take another second for option 3. Take a vote. All in favor of option 3?
I would say that we're looking for a change in that one little thing with it.
I agree, and I'm not a big fan of whatever added.
Yeah,
I would add a vote or.
Okay,
yeah.
Noted.
noted.
All right, then we have a vote for option 3 with
Yes.
alternative recommendations.
Fair enough.
All right.
And then our next playground is Steed Park. So this playground is actually in the baseball field complex. So if you haven't been into the baseball field side, you probably aren't familiar with it. The surrounding area on the image is completely inaccurate. There are not that many trees. It's actually 4 baseball fields. So disregard that. There's 2 options here. It's a very much smaller footprint, which is why you're not seeing the ginormous play structure that you're seeing at San Borneo. The actual physical play structure in the back stays the same on both renderings. The difference is there's this kind of Rubik's Cube blocks climbing feature, and then they have that wheel they love. So that's one option. And the second option puts in this nest swing. In our kind of cursory surveying of different people coming in and out of the community center, the want was this option with this first option right here, only because it has more play value versus the nest swing is going to be a lot of kids all in one space. I know everybody loves the swing, but again, we will take what the commission wants to do. I do want to point out that this is all recycled plastic. Everything on this playground is made from recycled plastic. It's a proprietary material that Compan has developed, and it uses fishing line and all kinds of plastics to make a sustainable, great play structure as well.
Is there still going to be that netting?
Yes, it will be fully netted still, absolutely.
With option one, can we replace the little circle with swings in there?
It's unlikely, again, because of that fallout zone, but I will ask the question.
Yeah.
So, because of the location for this, I mean, it's State Park between two big ball fields. I was wondering the age for this kind of playground. And I was wondering really if a family who's come because their teenagers involved in baseball, maybe their younger kids could participate, or could enjoy this kind of stuff. And that would make me tend to go to the lower end of the age group, which would be option 2 instead of option 1. Is that kind of, is there an idea for that?
Yeah, it varies. I'll tell you what's there right now is definitely not for anybody younger than 5 because it doesn't have any ramp or platform or stairs or anything. It's all climbing up, and it's a very short little slide that goes right down. So it definitely varies on the age range though as well. It's a little all over the place on who uses it.
It's usually like the siblings of, their older siblings playing ball, and then it's kind of a nice centralized spot where the kids could go and have fun ball.
Right now, the only thing that is there that's on one of these is the second option in the back. There's a little girl sitting on what looks like
It's a stick-up.
yeah, you basically stand and it spins and spins and spins, and there's 2 of those there right now.
I'm not a big fan of the second option, this option, just because I feel like there's a lot of solo play there. And it just seems to not really encourage togetherness, in my opinion, just looking at it. So I think I'm first.
What about that, maybe like a swing in that?
Well, I don't think there's the space to put like.
I doubt there's space for a swing. That's why they got the nest swing in, but we certainly couldn't do multi-banks or even one bank.
But I do know that the Supernova Circle is so popular, and I think my kids have loved it.
But I think tilts and spins and swirls and it can be multiple kids. It's, I guess, even more fun. When
They all climb on it, and like even the little
Also,
one.
you're balancing the new.
Yeah, so like, I mean, kids stand on it, they hug it, like bear hug it, and then it just gets spun around.
I'll bring one with me next time so you can try it.
I have a question about this climbing blocks thing. How tall is that?
I'm not sure. It's not going to be any taller than the one that we have a rock climbing thing at Courtney Sandcastle. It's not going to exceed that height. So again, it's not going to be unsafe. We don't have any reports on that. So
My concern is that it looks like it'd be fairly easy for a small child to get up on top of that and stand up. There's no rails or anything.
yeah, I think with all playgrounds, you're using the playground and the parents hopefully watching. That's the goal of a playground. But if you'd like to take the height down, I can look at a shorter height.
I'd say let them fall off and pick them some back up.
But they're falling on the cushion.
That's how they learn.
They're falling on the road stuff. That was one of the
And my kids love the one at Courtney Sandcastle because it's probably the most challenging. 'Cause
Yeah.
that one doesn't even have holes that are built in, right? I mean, you have
Right.
to actually climb on.
It's a rock.
So
Yeah.
that was like a huge thing when they all made it up there. I was a little bit scared of the but Yeah, they loved it.
And is there any option for having something like this that's not quite as modern, all plastic?
So this is the sustainable recycled plastic. What would be another option that you're looking
My
for?
concern is more about the look, being so modern that people prefer to have like what they asked for it, that same look. I know you didn't do a.
Yeah, what's out there right now is baseball themed. It's red and white and yellow and I think it's blue too. So it's very vibrant colored. I can change out the colors in this if you want a different color palette, potentially.
Yeah, I wonder if they can make those crawling pencils out of baseballs.
Yeah, I think that was the designer's attempt of, these make it look like baseball. So we can look at the coloring.
Too bad that wasn't in the survey.
Well, maybe they, that
Like
would be
bright,
cool if they did it
like
white,
stripes.
like the red striping, they could paint that on.
That would be fun.
Sure.
All right, that's all the questions I have. Anybody else?
And Samantha, when the survey went out, did it go out by email, letter mail, both?
We did an email to our master plan interested party list, which is a lot of folks, obviously, who use that space. It was posted in the park. We did some social media as well, and we did a press release. So that's a really good survey result for something that wasn't paid for or anything like that. Kind of a grassroots survey.
All right, do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve option one and maybe vary the colors, with a baseball theme.
During the second meeting? All in favor? Unanimous.
Can I ask a question about this, Jenny? The schedule that you have for updating all the playgrounds, is that like generally being followed as it comes up to COVID?
Yes. When this goes to council for contract award and approval, we would be bringing an amended schedule to council as well.
Because we didn't get into this detail when we reviewed the master plan for some of these state parks.
That's correct. This is something that's not really driven. It's driven based on the maintenance and current issues at each playground site.
Thanks.
All right, I think we're ready to move into section C, outdoor recreation facility reservations. Do this one.
It's up to you, or I can do mine.
Yeah, all right. And there's some additional feedback from you guys. So first up is Jean Arnold in regards to Blackstone Marine reservations.
I don't know what Samantha's recommendation is.
So this is, I don't have a recommendation. Right now,
Just for looking for community input.
yes, this is a public meeting.
Email.
Yes, that's it. The commission could choose to make a recommendation tonight, or they could just choose to gather the information and say, let's table it, or bring back a policy, or, it could be anything
Okay,
at
well,
this
just
point.
my opinion, well, good for me personally, I like the reservation system at the Ole Hansen Pool.
Yep, say what?
She likes the reservation. I like the reservation system at the Ole Hansen Pool. Okay? I don't like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get my lane, but I'm good with it.
If we change the time to 8 a.m., would that be better?
I honestly would, but I think that it's 6 o'clock maybe for the people who work.
It is.
Can I say something?
So,
Do you have a form in?
No, you're not supposed to.
here in the back of the room.
Can you fill out a form real quick and we'll
Well,
take
there's-
your. Yeah. Okay, so next up is Susan Ambrose, outdoor recreation reservations. Blackstone specifically.
Yes, I'm here to support the lap swim, set up the way it's rolling right now. It's a 6 a.m. start for reservations. And I do like the increased hours at this season. Maybe they could be increased during the whole year, because that really helps from 3 hours to, 7 or 8. So that would be my recommendation to keep the call-in system for reservations at Ole Hansen. parks, by the way, I think during the summer where there are drop-ins, if I'm wrong, Samantha kindly correct me. And then there's some free swim opportunities as well, and I think that's a wonderful aspect to summertime swimming as well. So I think you've done a great job, Samantha, on the swimming pool, especially at Oleans. That's where I swim, so that's the only one that I'm addressing tonight. Thank you very much for your hard work. And by the way, the staff there is wonderful.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Layla Foods, Reservations. Did we get that right?
Yep. It's Lila, but Layla works too.
I had a 50-50 shot.
Well, I heard that you might change tennis courts, back to reservations like it was in COVID. And that 6 o'clock was a killer. It was not really nobody wanted to do it. And when I did it, because I have like 20 people that play with us, I'd be on the computer at 1 minute to 6 and be ready to press the button, and I wouldn't get the time. And it was very frustrating. It happened over and over and over again. I am not for reservations. I think first come, first serve is the best way to do it. If you're an early bird, you get the court. If you're not, you have to wait a couple hours for people, doubles. I have 2 courts that we always play on Monday and Wednesday at San Clemente. And we play for 2 hours. There's 8 of us, and we do round robins, and we switch courts. And then we're done after 2 hours. And I don't know why that's a problem for anybody. So can we keep it the way it is? First come, first serve.
So you are against reservations?
I am against reservations. My whole team is against reservations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the bathroom doors.
You're welcome.
Linda Yumberman for tennis.
I should play tennis twice a week at San Clemente, right? This is really move. And I appreciate what all you guys do. I appreciate that you are here tonight doing this. I too volunteer in various places, and I know that it's not the easiest job. But I'm here because the reservation system did not work. It was horrible. One of us, there were 4 of us playing together, one of us each week would have to get up at 6 o'clock, and it was mentioned before, you can have everything ready to go, and you have your watch going. All of a sudden, okay, 6 o'clock, push the button, all the reservations are taken. I don't know how it happened, I don't know what happened, but I wasn't the only person that it happened to. So reservations did not work. What works now is you just show up, and yes, every so often someone, especially where we play, will show up from the state parks and they'll want to play. They have a half an hour, there's a sign up there that says, if the courts are being used, then, you can wait and one will become available. And I've never seen anyone wait more than 20 minutes before court is available. So it's not a problem there, I don't think, and it's certainly something that I would not like to see come back. It didn't work before. It was horrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chris Stevens, in regards to lapse and reservations.
Thanks. I wrote you a letter on this last year, but it was, I really love the reservation system for the swimming, the lap swimming. Actually, I could give up swimming before because I kept going there, the lanes were full. Me personally, I have trouble sharing the lane. I just won't swim. I have to share a lane because I keep hitting people, knowing the lane. So I love the reservation system. I think it works great. My proposal would be to keep it at Ole Hansen like it is now. It's working perfect. For the Aquatic Center up at Hermosa, you have 3 lanes there now for reservations. You can keep those or not. My proposal would be to have on the shorter pool, the shallow pool, have maybe half of that pool just so you can have reservations in there at certain times. And so you have some up there. The big Aquatic, all the lanes there are open for first come, first. That's it. Thanks.
And is it currently, so for swim, everything's on reservation right now?
So, if I can probably shed a little light on everything let's talk about. So, tennis reservations, I'll start there. We went to a reservation system during the pandemic. Everything was on reservations. And as we went through that, we heard very much mixed feedback that some people loved it. They didn't want to have to drive around all over town. Some people really did not like it, and it wasn't convenient for them. So when we looked at a reservation policy specific to tennis, there would never be an intention to say all of our tennis courts are reservation only. That won't work. I strongly believe that. I think there was a thought process as we heard from different members over the last 2 years of maybe certain courts for certain time frames should be reservation based. Maybe, one court at San Luis Rey and one at Liberty Park, and it's 2 hours in the morning or whatever that looks like. So not to take a full facility completely offline ever, but give somebody who likes a reservation the opportunity to reserve it. Now I want to preface the other element to this is if you are starting to reserve a facility, the question begs, should we be charging? Should that person be paying for that really premium service of having a reserved court? And then that dovetails into, well, now if they're paying something, there's probably a commitment to make sure it's enforced and the court's available. And then that circles back to we're short on staff. So those are just kind of conversations that we've thrown out. This item was in the commission's work plan, and that's why it's coming before you guys tonight. Again, this could be a no action item and you just kind of receive and file it. Or you say, do what you're doing. So right now we don't have tennis reservations, and it's drop-in, first come, first serve. As a lot of the tennis folks know here, they get along on the tennis court. They get through it. I know that sometimes there's disputes, but people solve it and they move on. And it's been that way for years and decades. So that's tennis. Now swimming, when we came out of the pandemic, we transitioned the Ole Hansen Beach Club to a cash-free facility. And in doing so, we also said, let's make that facility exclusively reservation-based. There's only 6 lanes that can be reserved because it's a smaller pool. And there's the kiddie pool that isn't reservable at this time. And that we know people are loving the reservation system there. Again, like we hear with tennis, some people love it, some people don't. But I, as staff, really believe there should be some level of reservations for swimming. Now in the future, when we look at a fee study, it could be that reserving that lane it costs you a little bit more, or maybe it's only something that's afforded to a pass holder. That it's not somebody that's just dropping in, you have to be a swim pass holder. There's all kinds of different ways to slice and dice it, but I want to say to the commission right now what we're doing is working. And then at the sports park at Vista Hermosa Aquatic Center, we have 3 lanes that are reservable in the 50-meter pool. So it's short course, but there's only 3 lanes. There's 17 lanes there total. And the reason why, and I absolutely appreciate the idea of adding lanes to the 25-yard pool. And I have Carrie Bro, she's our aquatic supervisor, and she can attest to this. It is like Tetris allocating those lanes because there's so much programming that goes on. So the 25-yard pool is heavily used for swim lessons and water fitness classes, and it's just kind of a constantly changing pool. Lane lines in, lane lines out, lane lines in, lane lines out, back and forth. So we landed on the 50-meter pool because it's a little bit more consistent. And we wanted to make sure we had the same 3 lanes that were always reservable, not to be jumping back and forth from lanes 1, 2, and 3 to 15, 16, 17. So we were able to find that consistency in the 3 lanes that are there. We know that people love those as well. And part of a policy potentially would be, if you don't show up, we're going to release your lane to the public after 10 minutes or whatever that may be. So again, we're here tonight to get feedback from the commission. If you guys have alternate guidance based on what you're hearing, that we can consider for the future.
I was going to ask, does your system have a program in place that, I know at the gym they do this, that if you don't show up, you do that more than like 3 times in a month, they say you can't make reservations for the next.
Yes, and we were doing that during the pandemic. It became a lot. So it's not as bad now. People are very good at canceling, and if they don't cancel in time, they don't get their money back, and that's accepted, that people are okay with that,
You
so.
do pay if you don't show up.
Okay.
Yes,
And
you
it's
pay
even more than
regardless.
that if you have a pass.
You're still paying.
You say, well, I paid for a pass. Well, if you have a pass, they even charge you on top of the pass for not showing up. So that's good.
Yes.
Do you find that 3 lanes out of 17 is a good mix? Is that meeting the need for people who do? I mean, are they consistently filled and reserved? I mean,
Carrie, do you want to speak to that? Yeah, I think Carrie can talk to it, but I wouldn't do more than 3 because it's going to put us in a situation of we won't always have 3 lanes available when the swim team comes in or when swim lessons start. It's going to start to pinch us in. Carrie?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of your question. If you could repeat it.
do you find that there's a high, regular reservation show up for those 3 lanes? Is there a need for more, or she just kind of answered it? But
So, high number of people showing up for the 3 lanes we have?
Yes.
So yeah, we have a high number of people showing up for the lanes. Our front desk staff is amazing at calling to remind people if they haven't showed up that we're releasing their lanes and we are charging them. For the most part, it depends on the time of day. So peak times, it's full. When you look at like, Hermosa is open until 8 p.m. That like 7 to 8 p.m. We're so many kids that are at home having dinner and things that it's not a peak time. We do have some of the lanes open. But for the majority of the day, they are full.
So Matthew, based on what she said, sounds like the 3 lanes is adequate, but during peak times it gets pretty crowded.
Yeah, so peak times, that's the afternoon. When we don't have any lanes available, we maybe have 1 or 2 left for drop-in swim. And as some of the swimmers could attest, it's not fun having to circle swim. And in 3:30 to 6, 7 o'clock at night, you might have 4 or 5 people in a single lane, and that is uncomfortable for adults. Youth swimmers can do it, but that's usually when a swimmer will just turn around and leave. So the 3 reserve lanes are vital during that time period. We cannot expand it either because we're just crammed on both sides of pool space.
When you reserve the lane, it's just yours.
That's correct.
I have a question. Whose idea was it to post Sundays and weekends? Correct. Yeah, the sports card.
So, and that's a good point, John. We do have different hours. We closed the Aquatic Center on Sundays because we don't have enough staff to run it. We had to pick either we close both pools completely or we open the Ole Hansen Beach Club. The Aquatic Center requires more staff to operate it because it's a larger facility. So in order to not lose complete levels of service on Sundays, we opted to open the Beach Club. We're hoping that's temporary. That goes to being short on staff though.
They didn't get enough lifeguards trained?
We are still short about 25 lifeguards.
It's like they're waiting in line.
I did see something on the national news about that. It's a national problem.
It is, it's a national crisis.
Is
Yep.
there a way to maybe harness some of that junior lifeguard program into
Once they turn
16?
This is something Carrie and I talk about endlessly. I had a meeting with HR today on lifeguards, on what we can do to get lifeguards, but I also know I have a lot of close colleagues in other cities, and they're all feeling the burden. Everybody's pool hours have been cut back. Everybody's pool hours are different. They're doing different things at different times, so we're not alone. I actually think the city of Sankramani has been very forward in how we're trying to recruit. So I was going to get into this in our budget, but I'll touch on it briefly. We did a hiring fair in April, and we captured about 17 or so new lifeguards. We are still short 25 lifeguards in order to operate both pools at full capacity. During the summer season, we ideally need 65 part-time lifeguards on staff in order to function. During rec swim, for some perspective, we need 13 lifeguards on duty, rotating throughout the facility. That's just at Vista Hermosa, not inclusive of the beach club, which would be 2 to 3 ideally. So, I mean, those numbers alone, we're just not capturing it, but as John said, it's a national issue, we're doing what we can. Junior lifeguards typically want to go to beach. We were able to capture some of the folks that didn't make beach. They did join our pool lifeguarding team. It's a great place to start. And we lose them to the beach eventually, but we take them when we can. Yes.
Yeah, I've been just listening to everything. I paid a lot of attention to this because I go to the pool 3 days a week and talk to the women working at the front desk and what they think and all that. And everybody agrees that the reservation at Ole Hansen is the best way to do it. Slam dunk, stay. And I think, there's different opinions at Vista Hermosa, but I think the 3 lanes works great. That's all good. It's been working. What has concerned me that we haven't even talked about, that nobody's talked about, is, and now, okay, I'd like to say, being a swimmer, selfishly, leave it the way it is. It's working great for me, except when they cut the hours in the winter, and then it doesn't work, and we know why that is. But it seems what's hugely lacking here is free swim time for kids to jump off, test all these skills they've learned from swimming. And I'm talking about the 8 to 13-year age group, where they have free swim to go dive down to the bottom. Can I make it down to the bottom of the deep end? I remember in my childhood, there's none of that. And the free swim at Ole Hansen is never in a big pool, which, it's not that, it does have a deep end though. So I was thinking, why is that not in there? I mean, that was my whole growing up. I mean, I was at the pool, and I'm saying, these kids, they're not, there's no opportunity for kids to just have free swim in the big pools, be able to dive down to the bottom and have fun. Well, so I started doing some research, and I looked at before you go, and there was 2 things, this was just yesterday I found this out, and it's pretty horrifying to me, actually. First one, minors age 14 and under must be accompanied by a parent or guardian and cannot be left unattended during the recreation time. So, a 14-year-old can ride his own bike to the beach, trestle, surf all day long, which is way worse and more dangerous than being in a pool. But he can't be dropped off by his parents to go swimming. A 13 or 10-year-old.
That's a California health and safety code that we have to abide by. That's why. Our hands are tied on it.
I can't, when I read it, I couldn't even believe it. And then the children under 8 must be within arm's distance of their parents. I mean, what's the point of even having lifeguards? Children under 8 have to be at arm's distance from their parents.
So a lifeguard is not a babysitter, and that's why we want parents there always. And Carrie can speak to that, as well as our expanded rescue.
So it's just these laws over time just kind of tighter.
I think we're seeing that everywhere. Trust me, it's not fun to enforce it, but that's the society we live in.
So with the children under 8, there is a loophole. If they pass a swim test,
Yeah.
they do not have to be in arm's reach. So that is specifically for safety, to make sure that children that are weak or non-swimming have someone that is watching them or can immediately grab them. But if they can pass the swim test, then their parent does not have to be in the water with them within arm's reach.
Yeah, and I can understand, that's not as bad as the 14-year-old can be, the 12-year-old can be dropped off. The parent doesn't want to go to the pool, but they want to get their housework done. Drop the kids off the pool, have fun. I mean, that's what my mom did. We'd be there all day, she'd do her housework, and then she'd come pick me up. But you can't do that anymore. For that 9 to 13-year-old, it's just like, I don't know. I can see why kids stay home and play video games. It's sad. It's really sad.
So I want Carrie to touch on a little bit. We do have more recreation swim for youth as well this summer. It's different hours. Do you want to speak to
So we've
that?
expanded our hours this summer. We have the 2-hour rec swim Monday through Friday from 10 to noon. And then on Saturday, it is 12 to 4. We are currently getting our children's pool at Beach Club reclastered.
once that's, I was hoping that our project would be completed before summer hours started, but that's not the case. They're still working on the project. So, and it should be within the next couple of weeks that we're able to open that pool. We will have rec swim at the beach club in that small children's pool.
That's a little baby pool, that's the 6 and under.
It is, it does make it really nice for like the children that go to the Boys and Girls Club or the children that live in that area that are able to walk there, or parents. We have a lot of like parent and tot parents that will sit on the grass space with their tots and then do rec swim and then go home. And we will so I will be posting those hours online as soon as the project is done, and I can expand those.
And the free swimming at Vista Hermosa is only in the activity pool, it's never in the deep end.
Correct. It was in the deep end prior to COVID. It isn't in the deep end.
And they have diving boards too.
Yes, and that has been with staffing limitations. This is the first summer that we brought back expanded just rec swim. During COVID, we didn't have the staff and we weren't able to provide rec swim at all. So the primary goal right now, the last week and this week, we've been capped. We're still getting staff onboarded, we're still getting staff trained, and then I have some part-time staff that graduated from high school and taking a vacation before they start work next week. So even the rec swim that we have in the activity pool has been capped between 50 and 75 community members to keep our ratio 1 lifeguard for every 25 people on deck. So the priority was to expand rec swim to at least 125 community members before we open the deep end, because the diving boards in the deep end would require me to have 2 more lifeguards on staff to be able to handle lifeguards
So,
the diving boards.
so it's just not happening now, but it possibly could happen in the future.
So
It is absolutely being intention.
I want to say, Pat, so we're clear, it is not our want or desire to close the pools. It's
Oh, I know-
painful.
Oh, I know that.
Carrie gets chewed out every day by somebody, and then I hear about it. So our priority is just to get the pools open, to release the midday closure, to get the beach club open for 45 to 50 hours a week again.
Yeah.
Priority number 1. Priority number 2, add in the programming, so more recreation swim, bring back swim lessons. My goodness, we haven't had swim lessons in forever. You talk about kids not knowing how to swim. There's a huge deficit there. And then priority number 3, then we can look at adding in private programming, and that's like the swim team and water polo and all of the other user groups. So just so the audience knows in the commission, that's where staff is at. We just want to open the pools, but we cannot do any of that until we have the staffing. And I know it's frustrating on a lot of levels. And we hear you guys. So we're doing the best we can with as we get in new resources and getting as creative as we can.
For diving board specifically, this summer we do have a new Springboard diving class. So any participants that want an beginner level Springboard diving class that want to use the diving boards can absolutely at least take the class and be able to go off the diving board.
At some point, maybe it'll be part of free swim though.
That is my goal. As soon as we have the staff to accommodate.
That's part of that. We need 13 staff to do all of that.
I'll just second that, just because I do know, I mean, I've taken it so many times there, and that was their number 1 thing, was they always, that was what they did all day, was
Go out
diving
and
board,
board.
diving board, diving board.
And staff had prioritized the activity pool only so that I could have the ratio instead of only allowing 50 people to rec swim. The goal is that, like I said, at least 125, because we can serve more people, swimmers and non-swimmers in the activity pool with the play structure versus the diving board. That was the only reason it was prioritized. But the moment we have the staff, it will be brought back. It is not the intention to not have it again.
And is it still on the table about, like, I know you were talking before about pay raises and things like that, is that?
I can get into that in my update later on.
Off course a little bit. Let's get back to section C. It sounds like for the swim, every bit of feedback we've gotten has been keep the reservations at Ole Hanson and keep the hybrid format at Hermosa. So I'd like to move that we approve that. Leave it as is. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. right, let's get back to the tennis.
Did we approve the tennis yet?
That will be that now. So in regards to the tennis reservations, I've written down, just basically two people who do not limit to, and I think the feedback was pretty split from the emails as well.
And right now, it's not reservation at all.
That's correct, there's no reservations.
Is it feasible to do a hybrid approach, just maybe like San Luis Reyes, since they have 4 courts, like do 2 courts for reservations and then everything else in the city is?
Who's gonna enforce it?
Yeah.
Yeah, anything's possible. I think it does go to enforcement and it goes to, are you charging a fee, not charging a fee? That's part of a bigger policy question.
The lifeguard's cool.
What is the policy as far as how many hours somebody can monopolize?
2 hours.
2 hours max.
Does anybody want to?
I just want to know, somebody, you got staff to enforce that?
No.
That's all I.
Not at this time.
You got lifeguards in the pool.
Yeah.
You got people sitting at the front desk. But who's gonna? I say leave it alone. My motion is, leave it as it is.
Second motion, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So what was the vote? No reservations.
No reservations.
Keep it as
No
is.
Keep it as it is. Hands up.
All right.
So that was
42,
It
right?
is, it is.
I didn't see my hand raised.
I saw.
Oh, you went up to it.
And we can bring this up at another time when we have more staff that can.
Absolutely.
So we can do it.
Yep.
But for now,
Not this summer.
all right, shall we move into master plan amendment, Vista Hermosa Sports Park Field number 2?
So this is a master plan amendment, as it states. Whenever there's a change to a specific park site, we look for the master plan amendment to get approval by the commission and then the council. I think the contents of the staff report kind of summarize where we're at. This field is a grass infield. There's 2 types of infields. There's a skinned infield, which is no grass, or a grass infield, which has the grass in it. The field number 2 was utilized heavily upon opening, and it's utilized sporadically for baseball now. For some numbers, field 2 for baseball purposes, 50% of the reservations are for baseball, the other 50% are for other sports. Rugby, soccer, football uses it. And so it's a very limited group that can play on that. It's typically the 12 and older, as it states in the staff report. We have 10 softball fields. Taking out the grass infield would allow softball to be played on it, as well as baseball. I mean, you can potentially do that, but there's 10 softball fields and there's 6 baseball fields in the city. But keep in mind that baseball could potentially use a softball field because they can pull in a mound. So really, there's potentially 16 baseball fields. This particular field, there's this one at Vista Hermosa, that's this size. There's one at Vista Bahia, and then there's one at San Bernardino Park as well. So the other element in all of this is when we look at lighting as well. We have four fields at Steed that are softball fields. Those have lights. Bonita Canyon is a softball field that has lights. Unfortunately, during the weekend, Steed Park is not available to a regular user like our girls softball partner because it's dedicated to tournaments. So that takes those 4 lit fields offline for any type of other use, and all of it's funneled to Bonita Canyon if you want lights, or if you don't want lights, Liberty or Tierra Grande is also an option, and Forster Ranch. So this has been a conversation that staff have had for a number of years to better utilize the field based on what we know is a need. But I know that there is 2 sides to every story. So this project is funded in the upcoming fiscal year. Council just passed it in its budget, but we would like to get commission's feedback and recommendation moving forward as well.
Was there something driving us to come to us now?
Other than it's added into the budget as something we could do. Yeah,
What is the cost?
it's about $35,000.
I can start with just some comments, just because this is something sort of near and dear to my family. I said I have 3 boys, they all play baseball. It's their favorite sport in the world. I have my son, he's in 8th grade, he currently plays on this field. And I would just say that the baseball field available for that age group, for the middle school and sort of early high school is limited. They have to play on something called like 60-80. And it's only this field, San G, and Bonita Canyon, I believe, is the 3 fields.
This is yeah.
Yeah, they're limited to. And then the fields are not in great condition, and so that's really limited. Also, I spoke with the varsity or head of San Clemente High School's baseball program today about this, and they would really like to use some city fields because they only have 1 field there for all of their teams, but they won't use this field because they think it's not safe because of the way the field has been maintained. And so I think their view is that they would rather, instead of seeing this field convert into a softball field, use that money to upgrade the field similar to what the smaller fields like at Vista Hermosa, those have been all redone and they're in great condition. And I think there's also a management company that's managing the field so they work properly for ball play. And that's kind of what I would like to see happen here, is instead of opening it up to multi-use and sort of degrading use for, I think, a age group that does need it, I would rather see the field actually improved and then maybe work with our school to give them the opportunity to use it for their freshman teams, and then also give the middle-aged school kids something to
So what makes the field different? Is it just smaller? It doesn't have it bigger?
Yeah, so the other fields are smaller, and then these are bigger, and then the distance between the bases are bigger. So it kind of trains them for the high school level, so where they're throwing between the bases is the lane.
Oh, so it is a bigger field?
Yeah, and also the base, so what they don't like too about sharing the fields, and the coaches will tell you this, is that they don't like, because with softball, you don't have a mound, and right now there's a mound there, and then that would be scraped flat, and then they'll have to drag in a mound each time, and they don't really like that, and then they would rather have the infield grass. So I think there was a couple of comment letters that we got.
Question on that then, if they don't replace this with all dirt, what's next?
It stays as
It
is.
stays as is. And you're saying you're expecting the high schools or schools to put in money in this, and that may never happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the wish is, I mean, there's a need for additional field space at San Clemente High School for the freshman teams, but yeah, I mean, the problem is that it hasn't been.
That's got to be up to the district too.
Does San Clemente pay field space reservations for this field?
No, they have not in quite some time. They've not rented this field in a while. And when they do,
What do they pay?
it depends. They don't always pay. Depends on what time of day it is.
All right.
And so there's no possibility to use that money that was your kind of for renewal of?
Potentially, I mean, if that's what the recommendation that the commission makes, then I would take that forward to see what we can do to implement it. It may or may not happen, but I can certainly look at it if that's what comes from the commission. That's fine.
Can I make a motion to table this until we get the answer to that?
Sure.
Question?
Sure.
We'll address it next meeting.
No problem.
Second down.
I want to quickly comment, I know that somebody had mentioned just pull it out and make it artificial turf from a better maintenance standpoint. We cannot do that on this field. These are recycled water fields and you have to have potable water for artificial turf. So that would be an extremely expensive conversion.
So that's not an option, but
Correct.
maintaining or improving the turf that is there, maybe an option.
Correct.
Okay. All in favor of tabling this, do you have a nomination?
I just have one last question. Did you know how much it was that
Yeah, and that was in 2020 or 2019, and I want to say it was 25 or 20 between on each field, somewhere around there. I think they gave us a $40,000 donation for the 2 fields.
That was from Boone, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
So all in favor of tabling this to the next meeting, where we can try to answer as to whether funding could be geared towards maintenance versus renewal? Unanimous. All right. Let's move on to section 7, communications. Sandra.
Okay, I have a couple of updates. I know that there was a want to look at the Bpr budget. So typically, the commission doesn't have purview over the budget. That's a council function. But I'm happy to provide the presentation that was shared with the city council at the budget workshop. This is from the council adopted their budget last Tuesday. So this is our department budget. This is all of our funds from recreation and the administration side of Bpr. So coming in at just about $5.8 million in operating costs. This includes recreation services and the administration, which is Miley, myself. We have a department analyst. The commission here, that's under administration. The marine safety is separate from this, and golf is separate from this as well. So this is aquatics, day camps, our community center programs, all of that. So you can see we don't have too many major changes. Our one uptick is we have a 7% increase in other charges. That's typically related to, there's inflation costs built into that as we're anticipating the future continued increase in the cost of supplies. That's really the biggest one. We also are seeing a significant uptick in how we're paying out our contractors. We're doing more revenue, which means we're paying out more to our contractors as well. So what generally with Bpr, we like to bring in revenue so then we can spend it. We try to be as cost neutral as we can. And so I'm happy to take questions on that. I think there's another slide on highlights. So you can see these are the highlights that were shared with the council. We brought on a management analyst this past year, and she will remain with us to help us with some of the administrative work. Most of our costs have remained flat with year-over-year prior operations. And then this is what I'm talking about with the contract class instructor cost increases. Again, we have contract instructors with the recreation division. Their contracts are a 70-30 split. So the city keeps 30% of that revenue, but we have to pay them out for 70%. So that's that increase. And then we have an uptick in special event costs. The division is working to host a new Halloween activity this coming year. And so we're seeing an increase in that, but we also have seen an increase where we've added National Night Out as programming. We've also added the bike safety rodeo. So there's some new events that kind of have gotten slipped in to Bpr as well. The only other item I want to highlight in that is personnel. I think we've talked about it a lot from the hourly perspective. Recreation has currently 15.75 full-time employees. We have 2 vacancies right now, full-time vacancies, and in the admin sides there are 3 full-time employees. So it brings us to, we're in a pretty good operating position, but what our biggest challenge is with a diminishing part-time hourly staff base. Our full-time staff are stretched very thin to do what our hourly staff do. In a good year, as I shared, we would have 65 lifeguards. On the lifeguard side, aquatics for recreation. When I was a coordinator doing recreation programs, I had over 100 rec leaders underneath me, just running programs all day long, managing the front desk, doing facility setups. We have about 30 of them right now. So Our part-time hourly staff are our foundation, they are our base of why we can do programs. So I have, all of my full-time staff are certainly experiencing burnout on a lot of levels. There's a lot of overtime that's being worked. And while overtime is great because there's a nice paycheck, but there is something that needs to be said for quality of life too. And I'm certainly hearing that. So that's concerning for me. I know that's concerning for the city manager and city council as well, as we look at staff retention and satisfaction also. Along those same lines, I am always, my door's always open if the commission has ideas on what we can do better, what you're hearing. The staff are near and dear to my heart. I care about each and every single one of them. I do everything I can to know all of them. We're doing some staff appreciation days where we're just sending everyone love by way of food because they like food. So we're gonna be doing that and just making them feel like they are part of our family and they matter because they genuinely do. Are there any questions on the budget or personnel? Yes.
Lifeguards are paid out of this budget, I assume.
That's correct. Yes.
So have we built in a rate that might help encourage people to apply for your lifeguard?
It's a great question. That segues into the class and comp study that's been approved. So July 1st, the city council, as part of the MOU with the Employees Association, agreed to a class and comp study for all full-time employees. And then they also agreed to also throw it in for the part-time hourly staff. It would be at that point, and a class and comp study can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months. It's a very long process because there's a lot of analysis that's done. But the goal would be for next fiscal year to implement salary wages. Now, I want to say, aside from that, we have a little bit more flexibility with our hourly staff because they're held to a different standard than full-time staff because they're not represented by the Employees Association. So on that light, we're given, I think it's a good thing, some flexibility to look at the pay scale and work within the pay scale as it exists. And that's why we've been able to bump pool lifeguards up almost to the highest step at starting and then get them to the very top after working 100 hours. So we're doing that with lifeguards. That was a great incentive to bring people on board. We have a couple other special incentives that we're doing for lifeguards. They get a parking pass, quarterly parking pass. If they continue to work with us, they get free swim. And then we're piloting a free Spotify account as well. Knowing that demographic, we're just trying to tune into what they like. And we know that they like to go to the beach, they like to eat, and they like music. So we're just trying to check the boxes. We are not, on that same note, Rob, we didn't adjust anything in our budget. We didn't take away funding for our part-time hourly staff because I'm hopeful and fingers crossed that we'll get fully staffed to regular levels. So that way, when we are staffed, we can operate and budget's not going to be an issue. Hopefully.
So the other question is on so I moved somewhere in the city budget, the capital projects would fund the improvements to Steam Park.
Yes, so that is my next update. Are there any other questions on budget?
Is the master plan budget separate from this, or is master plan budget within here?
So master plan is through the CIP program. There's a parks acquisition fund and a couple other funds, and I can touch on that in my next update.
Does that trolley come out of your budget too?
No, it does not. Not my program. It's cute. I like the trolley.
All right, it's like specific master plan update.
So, this commission recommended approval of the 5 site plans back in December. In going through the motions of getting it to council, and council weighed in post commission approval or recommendation even before I could get it to them. And in one of their late December recommendations, they directed staff to prioritize the build out of Steed Park above all other things in light of the pickleball situation to try to alleviate San Bernardino. So, because of that, staff have put together in the CIP program, there's $500,000 that's dedicated to the design of Steed Park. The first step is the master plan. Now we have the concept. The next step is design of it. So that's estimated at about 500 grand. That's going to get into the very granular level of you need to have this type of sidewalk path with this type of lighting and this number of benches and that kind of very spec'd out project. That would then allow us to go out to bid and secure a contractor to build it.
Does Steve also include like the pump track, or is that?
Yes,
Okay.
all inclusive.
Oh, so everything is on the master plan for Steve Park?
Yeah, so what's funded is the design of that space. Yeah, the actual build out of it, we're gonna work towards, based on the design numbers that we get in construction
I
costs.
can't remember, back in December, did we finalize Steve Park?
Yes, so,
And
yep.
council approved.
Yeah, council actually hasn't approved it, because now what we're doing is, before a master plan amendment or anything gets adopted by council, it has to go through CEQA, which is California Environmental Quality Act. That's a state law, which gives an opportunity for the public to give feedback and anybody to come forward that has a concern. Part of CEQA analysis is to look at any underlying sacred grounds or archaeological studies. Noise is a big one in CEQA, as well as traffic. Council just approved a contract with an environmental consulting company last week, so I have a kickoff meeting with them this coming week. That process typically takes 9 months. They're going to fast track it for us because it's important. So I'm hoping to land the actual amendment or the site plan approval and adopting the CEQA findings. I'm hoping to land it to council in December. And then that will continue our process forward. It's very long and part of the planning process. So my goal on the other parks would be to look at, we still have to do CEQA analysis on all 4 of those that remain. I would look to see if we can get funding for that, probably late next fiscal year, looking into fiscal year 23-24. CEQA analysis for 4 parks can range anywhere from $90,000 to $200,000. So it's not an inexpensive cost.
A full EIR for each park, or is
It depends. So Steed Park has its own EIR from 2002. The firm we're using is going to use that as a guiding document, but because it's a little dated, they certainly want to do their own findings and their own studies. Parks like San Luis Rey and Linda Lane do not have any EIRs, and neither does Bonita Canyon. So those are kind of like starting fresh because those were built pre-CEQA. So that's where costs could get a little bit higher as well.
Has there been a dollar amount that has been approved for Steve?
Just $500,000 for the design. And after that, the construction costs from our consultant with the in-concept plans, the total for Steed was about $15 million for build out. I would add 20% to that now, because that was in December.
Any more questions regarding
I had a question on budget, Jen. Do you happen to know if somewhere in the budget for next year, the city piece of standard replenishment is fully funded?
Yeah, so that's an ongoing funding. They budget that out year over year. They always add in money to that account. It is not an account that I oversee, but they do add money to it every year.
All right. Number 3, e-bike management.
So we are in action with our no e-bikes on the beach trail. We are working to get signs put up. Their beach trail signs, they're a little bit specialized, so they're taking a little bit longer. I do want to say that we did a targeted enforcement date, Marine Safety and Police Services, June 4th. They were not citing anybody, but they were on the beach trail stopping people. The deputies were there, our marine safety officers were there, really specifically flagging people down on e-bikes. Surprisingly, there was not a lot of e-bikes, and this was a Saturday, so and they did it all day long, 2 different shifts, and they found most people were riding their e-bike to the bike racks and then walking. So pretty good in terms of how we've communicated forward. It's early in the summer though. We will continue to do a couple more targeted enforcement dates. The next one, they will be writing citations. And we're vowing to, you know, really draw the line on that because we know that citing is the first step towards understanding. Unfortunately. The city's also working with, we're going to be releasing a public service announcement, a PSA, with a local group of well-known individuals that I cannot say the name of right now, but I hope to release that in the next couple of weeks as well to try to grab those middle schoolers out and about. And then council has asked for, given staff direction to bring back some kind of program that licenses e-bikes or certifies riders to get on an e-bike. That's with the Bpr department, and it's something my team is working on when we have a moment to, between limited staffing resources. And then code compliance, and Adam Atamian's team is looking at e-bikes on sidewalks and uses in the street as well as a separate entity. That element would not come back to the Bpr commission because it's very specific to streets. So.
Are they looking at potentially having some kind of a mandatory permit that includes a safety class before you can regulate?
Yeah, that was one of the conversations. That is, I think, a great concept, but it's about how do we roll that out, and then how do we deal with people that come into San Clemente from Dana Point, because we know that they rent an e-bike in Dana Point and come to San Clemente, so it's a systematic question.
Add in maybe a solution that I feel like works really well at our middle school. So our middle school rolled out a program which is essentially we were renting e-bikes at our school. So anyone who brings an e-bike to campus has to have a sticker on it. And when you get the sticker, they have to go through a education program. So they have to watch a video which was provided to us by the city. So we partnered with the city and the OC Sheriff Department. And it worked really well. And we also had some targeted enforcement. So the sheriff would come out, make sure that the kids weren't, kind of misbehaving around school, that they were walking their bikes across crosswalks and things like that. So it might be something that I know a lot of the other schools were interested in doing the program. So that could also be a way that you could kind of roll it out and then have it be part of the school, and then the permits are specific to that school. So it worked well with us. So.
Have they said anything or any feedback on, there's been specific groups of kids who have been released in World War? Have they been able to identify any of them, do anything about that?
No, unfortunately not. And with minors, it's very tricky tracking all of that down too. We are seeing a lot of vandalism in our parks. One of the things I'm taking to council probably in August is I'm going to codify not allowing e-bikes on turf within parks. It's a park rule right now, which is nice, but nobody can really enforce it. So we know that there's an e-bike gang that likes to tear up Jim Johnson. They like to tear up Tierra Grande, Liberty. There seems to be hot pockets. Yeah, the golf course is getting hit as well. So we're going to codify it that that's not allowed, so then a park ranger can go in and cite somebody on site, or a deputy could as well by doing that. And that's going to be in August.
Anybody have questions? Committee interviews, committee and commission interviews.
So interviews are tomorrow. There are 4 vacant seats that will be filled. They will be here. Actually, they're going to be in the auditorium. They'll be at the community center. I don't really know the scheduling. The clerk's office manages it, but it is a public meeting, so anybody's welcome to attend it. The new terms would effectively start July 1st. The first commission meeting for Bpr would be in August because we're on those even months.
Are they going to do kind of a orientation like they do with us?
Most likely, yeah, it'll be in July. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, that's all I have.
Oh, I do have one question.
Yes.
Do you happen to know if we have enough people to fill potentially vacancies?
Yes, yes.
More than enough.
I
more than
Well, I
enough.
know we had some issues with. some of the
BPR
applications.
did very well in terms of the number of applications received.
Thank you. Any other questions in regards to the commission? Now let's move on to section 8, items from the commission. So subcommittee reports, postal items during the room.
All right, so I have, I guess, one update and then something that I'm presenting to you that I will break up. So our subcommittee met with the city manager, the director of public works and planning to discuss both the San Clemente Shoreline project, the grant that we received that Susan talked about in the beginning, and also a regional effort to talk about sand replenishment. So we got a really great update from them about the federal project. Again, that's moving forward. We're going to work with their meeting with the Board of Engineers. I think they said this summer. Yeah, and I know they wanted to, and I'll talk about this maybe with future agenda items. I think they wanted to come to present to us, and I still really like that. So
Yeah.
it's such an important project for the city of San Clemente. And then the grant too, because that was going to be looking at feasibility of doing living shorelines up and down our coast, which is fantastic. So doing dune habitats and things like that. So yes, that's exciting for us. And the thing that I included in here is just something that I had written up and I had reviewed with our subcommittee, and it's basically San Clemente beach restoration and climate resiliency, which is really like the keyword that they've been using a lot, roadmap. And it's really just a bunch of recommendations that I feel like our city needs to be doing to keep moving forward with sand replenishment and beach nourishment, because I think although we're doing a lot, we're still not doing, in my opinion, enough. And so I'm not sure, like, if we could, I mean, I could go over it with you, or can we make like a motion to put forward some of the recommendations?
So I think the goal with this in particular is, assuming the commission's reviewed it, and if you don't have any questions of Doreen or the subcommittee, Erin, what we'd love to have is a recommendation from the commission to select a commissioner, it could be Doreen or Erin, someone on the subcommittee, to present this to the council, who can then kind of receive and file it or take action on it. But we want the entire commission's buy-in that this is a plan that the BPR commission has its stamp on as well.
Yeah, and I could just quickly just review the things that we talked about. And some of these have been proposed by council. So one thing was having a city point person that's really just focused on erosion and climate resiliency. So this would be like a sand person that's just fully dedicated to that. The second was, and this is currently not being done, but really looking at these in-water structures that are needed. Because it's one thing to bring the sand in from the federal project, it's another thing to hold the sand there or to try to keep the sand as long as possible in our littoral cells. So that's another thing, is we really need a study to look at these in-water structures that we can do that are both environmentally sensitive and will help keep our sand there. The other thing that I had in there was looking at local source materials to bring in sand to our beaches. So many of our beaches just need sand, and we don't even have a local source. Where can we buy it? How much is it? Do we bring it in from Mexico? Do we go to the desert and get it? And maybe there's a source out there that we could use, that we could just, put money in each year just to start bringing some sand back to our beaches, because so many of them need it. And down at Ruby, it's almost all popple there now. One other thing is, we used to have something in San Clemente called the Regional General Permit with the Army Corps of Engineers. It's called RGP 66, and that was in place so that if we found sand from either a river or things to bring, that we would already have it permitted and able to put on the beach. So if we bought sand, we could put it on the beach without having to go through additional permitting. So that was let expired a few years ago, and I'd like to see the city bring that back, so we are able to do that without permitting. And then the last thing was talking about just a funding source. All this stuff is going to cost a lot of money. We need people looking for grants. We need a structure in place for how we're going to pay for all of this, because it's going to be ongoing and something we're going to have to deal with as a city for a long time. So I just sort of listed a bunch of different ways that different places have funded this. So San Diego has done a big funding structure. Ventura County, there's a lot of counties that have done this and found ways to pay for this. And a beach profile monitoring program. So this is something that actually we are starting to do. So that's exciting too. So we're going to start looking at how our beach profiles are changing over time, because we haven't really been looking at that on a routine basis. So we'll see how much sand is coming in and out and what's happening to our beaches. And then lastly was just to...
Would that be the same person that would be doing that?
No, I think usually that's contracted out. So right now, like UC Irvine is doing it for the state beaches. And so they're just looking, and they have like these drones that literally will fly overhead, and it's pre-programmed and take pictures. Yeah, I think they do right now Tahiti and then the state beach. But it'd be easy for them. They're down here anyway, just to have more beaches. So, but I do think that is part of what planning is doing. So that's, and then the last thing was like just an educational program, like working with maybe our city junior lifeguards, and just have that be part of their educational component, understand what's happening to our beaches, and maybe they could put a little sand on the beach themselves or something as part of it. So
Samantha, also, I would say for the future, whoever gets reassigned that, because Doreen is doing so much good work on that, making it public on the website for the city, where they can click about beach sand, because I get a lot of questions about it.
Sure.
And everybody just thinks it's dead, and all that literature she's got, something like that, once it's approved, they can click and read on all the recommendations.
Right.
What's being done, and we'll give them some feeling that someone's actually doing something.
Agreed.
Because right now, they're not filming it.
yeah, because we really should have, I don't think any of those environmental documents are available for the San Clemente shoreline, because people have questions about it, they want to know about it, when's it happening, or have even forgotten the dates, so.
Okay, that's a great idea. I think that ties in if there was a staff member who specifically assigned to it.
Transparency for you there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to move that we take the roadmap and have Doreen and Aaron present to the city council as a formal, this is where we're all eyeing this roadmap moving forward.
Okay.
Can I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Thank you guys for your work on that.
All right, so the next part 2 of the subcommittee reports is consideration of the subcommittee for donation and sponsorships related to the master plan. This is my baby, so thinking forward as we start to get some of these secret things going, and we actually get to the point where we're going to build out some of this master plan. As you know, Sam just said, $15 million just for Steve Park build out. Imagine that's one of the more expensive ones with everything going in there.
Yeah, the total five park system is about $30 million.
So, we've been talking about, increasing our corporate sponsorship requests, and something we haven't been talking about is, donations. And I've got 2 thoughts to, right now, there's a lot of corporate folks that are in the same company. And those corporations have some really great giving programs, donation match programs and whatnot. The holdback is that most of those are limited to 501c3s. So I'd like to put together a committee that does 2 things. Kind of starts to wrap our arms around this, increase of corporate sponsorships, and then also to talk about getting things in place for being able to, have a repository for donations, you know, and whatnot to come in. So,
I think you should do it on the next meeting, when you
Yeah.
can actually have your team.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I have,
okay.
You might wanna table it.
yeah.
So
I will
we'll
wait.
table it. We'll table?
So, yeah.
Are you gonna move the table? This is.
We'll move the table, because we're
Well, so
being
we
interviewed
have
tomorrow.
people interviewing tomorrow.
People are being interviewed tomorrow, some of us won't be here, maybe new people, so I wouldn't want to volunteer for something that I don't need.
Yeah, and there's no real big, you know, meeting.
You're gonna meet in August.
So, yeah. We move the table.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This one, this agenda.
Yep.
All right. Items from commissioners, number one, purified.
The only thing I really have to say is, if you haven't been down to the snack shack down at the end of the pier, it should be ready for a grand reopening June 28th, which is 2 weeks from today. And I guess they got 3 brand new picnic tables down there now, and they're just waiting to make sure they have the counter and the stools installed before they open it. But it's pretty much the artwork's done and everything looks good right now. Yeah, so looking forward to it. So hopefully for the 4th of July. And other than that, that's about it right now. Just planning for the fall.
All right, Sam, I've got something I'd like to ask for a future agenda.
Sure.
Do we have plans of beaches, parks and recreation meeting next meeting?
Yes, I'm gonna work to get their president to be on the special presentation end, to give them an update on their foundation and their status.
And are they gonna give an update in like where they're, the new president, where they're kind of envisioning how to use their funds?
Yeah, so the commission's aware, they're kind of revisioning their nonprofit, so I will let him speak to that and talk about what that looks like for them in the future.
Any other proposed future agenda items?
Did we get the ones about the updates on the Sankramani Shoreline project and the Sankramani planning grant, the living shorelines?
I don't have any updates.
Just that that presentation that was given to us and given to us.
Yeah, let me see if I can get Jennifer or Kyle. Yeah. Somebody.